Hi there, and welcome to Awaken Leading Edge Masterclasses on Spirit Self and the Quantum Revolution. I'm your host for this event, Teresa Pridemore, owner of Sovereign Spirit, and I'm beyond delighted to introduce you to our next guest, Jacki Gethner. Hi, Jacki.
Hi there.
So good to have you here. I've known Jacki for a long time. She's an incredible person. I really appreciate you bringing your wisdom to this experience.
Thank you. I really appreciate being invited.
Jacki is she's an LMT and Reiki master to present, also is a certified alcohol and drug counselor, or was from 1998 to 2019, and is a resident of Portland, Oregon, and a renowned international health advocate, activist, and educator. In 1987, she launched her practice of regenerative therapies, and she possesses over 3 decades of experience in support and bodywork. Jacki has a history in the field of HIV/AIDS, where she has worked in collaboration with many civic and government agencies, health educators, faith-based organizations, and pharmaceutical companies. Jacki is recognized as a pioneer and seasoned healer in prevention and self-care of HIV/AIDS individuals and other vulnerable communities through the use of regenerative therapies. You can find out more about Jacki and her work at jackigethner.com, and there is a lot there, so definitely go check it out. And our topic today is honoring the body, something that I am very passionate about, especially after being in Jacki's circle for a long time. So before we kind of jump into talking about it, Jacki, can you tell me a bit about yourself and your background? Because you have a breadth of work behind you.
Right. So I have been a body worker since 1987. I attended the Boulder School of Massage Therapy, where at the time I was working at Presbyterian St. Luke's Hospital in Denver. And I realized I worked on the psych units, and I realized all the people that I worked with had body issues. They had had some kind of trauma or abandonment or anything that kind of fit into that category. But because of the rules and regulations behind touch, and with good reason, boundaries around people touching other people, especially on a unit like that, I just always felt something was missing. The Boulder School of Massage was one of the best schools in the United States for studying what was called integrative or neo-Reichian work. And so it was back in the day when there was no funding for schools like that. And I reached out to the people that I knew and said, this feels like I finally found where I belong. And could you lend me money to go? Because in those days it was only $6,000 compared to what it is today. And in a week, I had over $6,000, which to me was pretty much an affirmation of being able to do this work. At the same time, I started working with a conference, the only holistic and Western medicine AIDS conference in the United States, called AIDS Medicine Miracles, which was based out of Boulder, Colorado. And my oldest ride till you die girlfriend died of HIV, from being a drug addict, basically from taking pain meds for over 20 years for a car accident that she'd had, which was the case for so many people in that time frame. And so I wanted to learn all about HIV. And I also I had other friends who were just quickly at that point dying of this disease. And so it was important for me to know as much about it as I could. So this conference was held, and I said, could I come to this conference in exchange? I was still a massage student, for sharing chair massage. For people who are not aware of the early days of HIV, nobody was touching people with HIV, people's doctors, nobody, because there was so much misinformation and no information about HIV. So my girlfriend and I went, and we went with big healer energy, and literally just touching somebody on the shoulder brought people to tears, and we had to take them and let them be in a quiet space for a while. And that's when I really realized that I was in the right place. I traveled with this conference for a number of years. I presented at 2 international AIDS conferences. The most recent one was in 2000 in Durban, South Africa. And I did several different events there. And the best part of it for me was seeing people that were still alive that I'd worked with in the various conferences I'd done around the United States. And they came running up going, oh my God, I still do this, I still do that. And it was just so very wonderful to be confirmed about the work that I did being helpful.
Mm.
I also will share with you that during this point in time, I had hepatitis C, which in those days was undiagnosed as hepatitis C. But I'd become infected working on the psych unit when somebody had slit their wrists, and we kind of went in and tried to make that situation better. And I got scratched, and that's how I got hep C. And I know that because I also have really rare blood. So here I was with very little energy, being a single mom, going to massage school and working with this population, which was a big deal. It was a big deal. And if it wasn't for my bodywork practice, if it wasn't for my spiritual practices, I'm not sure how I made it through, but I did. And when I moved to Oregon, legislated for people to be treated for hep C, which passed. So when I turned 65, I was able to be treated for hep C, but because they had waited so long, I have cirrhosis of the liver. So whereas that's not an issue for me, it's something that I have to look at. It's something that I really talk about in my work, because there's always been this idea. And by the way, I'm 74 years old. That old hippies just got it because we all did drugs all the time. Well, that part is true to a certain extent, but the point of it is, that's not how people got hep C. It was because it was before universal precautions, and there were a lot of other factors involved. And there's people that to this day are very reluctant about getting tested for hep C and just taking care of their bodies. So while Teresa does this wonderful experience for people, we felt it was important for people's bodies to become discussed as part of this, because we can get really esoteric and out there. And believe me, I'm a person who works with crystals. I'm a person who works with Bach flower remedies. But I also work with very low income people. And what I know from being chronically ill myself for a number of years is that it's really hard to get through the day, and you don't have money to do some of these other explorations. So the work I've chosen to do is really very much walk away with 3 skills so that you can feel better, get a little umph in, and then you can work with some more. And there's skills that I really hope that people will teach other people. My goal in presenting with Teresa for this event is not to really get individual clients as much as it is for opportunities to go places. I really don't like doing things online. It's part of the reason why people are having some of the issues that they have, is because that isolation of the 2+ years that we spent inside, or a lot of us spent inside, really did a lot to our ability to feel safe in the outside world. And I'm going to sound like such a hippie here, but I don't care. Touch heals. Touch really heals. I've seen it thousands and thousands of times at this point. So it's not for me to get people to heal other people. It's for me to have people be stable, to really pay attention to what's happening in their body, because I can tell you, it doesn't feel like I'm getting any older, but there's all these little signs that are really easy to avoid, which can create more problems for you as you get older. Or maybe you have a parent who's in that situation. And we certainly have kids in this situation. One of the large things I talk about is prevention around sexual behavior. I started my nonprofit, which I reset. So I'll backtrack for a second. In 2009, I was given the only person in the country a national award from Kaiser Family Foundation for my work in HIV and AIDS. And they gave me $10,000. So I decided, because of my girlfriend passing, and I think we all have girlfriends and boyfriends that we consider long-term friends, and people that we would want to be around when we get older. So I started a nonprofit called Women of a Certain Age. Jacki Gethner founder, because there's lots of women of a certain age pages. And I started it on the day Viagra came out. And I did that because women over 50 are the fastest group to this day of people getting HIV, but they are not important enough to work with.
Mm.
And there are so many women that are in denial and still are into the same high school games, that they were in high school about, that's not about me. Well, it is about you. And so I have a great regard for helping people to be able to talk about these issues, to be able to work with these issues. And when people get to the place where they are passing away, to do that in a way that's mindful and respectful. And it's based on thousands and thousands of people that I've worked with who have subsequently died. When I moved to Oregon, just to say this, I started working in the prisons because there you certainly can't identify with HIV, but they certainly have a lot of chronic illnesses. And what came as a result of my volunteering there for about 4 or 5 years was that they had less incidents in the yard because people were telling people to breathe. People were telling the guards to chill out and breathe, and taught reflexology. So it's all very simple things that you go, oh, I kind of knew this already, but it's how to bring it into your daily life so that you can, not 100%, I don't do it 100%. Teresa will be glad to tell you how I can go off the rails, but it's about just being the best you can be and stop judging yourself because of it. And I feel like, as somebody with being an empath, doing a lot of energy work that I don't even know what I'm doing most of the time, because I only get the big things like
Mhm.
cirrhosis of the liver.
Mhm.
And I was infected with Western equine encephalitis in 1974. And what that is it burns your brain up, and all they can do is give you morphine. So as a result of that, again, I nearly died, but I didn't. And I have no memory for things. So whereas you'll see a lot of presentations that talk about things that are very grounded in a lot of thought and books and resources, I totally fly by the seat of my pants in terms of just coming from my inner self
Mhm.
and helping people with the things that are most helpful for them. So again, my goal is to be able to travel, to be able to work with people, because no matter what your political stance is at this point, there's so much more else going on in terms of global warming, in terms of our kids, in terms of so many other kinds of issues. And I'm really hoping that out of this opportunity will come a way for there to be a little bit more calm. We, I believe, need a whole lot more calm and a lot of more groundedness in the physical, which is our bodies. Because I will share with you, when you get older, things change. It's very subtle,
Mhm.
very subtle. Hopefully it's not sudden, but hopefully you pay attention to the subtleties of how your sleeping changes, how your body feels to you, how much touch you need from somebody else, and how to meet those needs in a way that's practical and is comfortable to share. Because whenever I do a workshop or a training, the last thing I share with people is, please share something with the group that you've learned for yourself, but something that you might like to share with somebody else,
Mhm.
because that's the way we all benefit.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah. Thank you for sharing all that. Yeah, there's so much to be said for really listening to the body's wisdom, especially as we get older. And, one thing that came up for me when you were talking about all these factors, kind of pushing our buttons at this time is anxiety. And I think that, going like what I do as you is go in for regular body work. And that is tremendous for managing anxiety, and having the power of touch, the power of healing to help us manage and keep keep grounded when there's so much chaos going on around us.
Mhm. And I believe that a lot of people that are younger than myself, like say your age, are have even a harder time. I mean, the times are hard, but for different reasons.
Mm,
So there are a lot of people who might be in their 40s or their 50s, and they have parents that are aging that all of a sudden their whole lives are being uprooted because my mom's going to be here for forever. I mean, my son says that to me. Oh, mom, you're going to be around for forever. Well, the reality is, and I think we can see this starting to happen in this age group where people's parents are dying. You know, nobody gives us a contract that says you're going to be here till you're 84 or you're 73. And I think in the news, you're seeing a lot more people that you've grown up with, whether they be movie stars or musicians or whatever, that are passing away at late 60s, early 70s. Some of that is lifestyle choices, but some of it is not lifestyle choices. It's just their time.
mhm,
So how do you make the best of that time, and how do you be present for people when they're going through these things, and at the same time take care of yourself?
mhm,
Um, and I think today with kids, they're so much into computers, and we won't get into a discussion about that because I have really big views on that for kids. But kids need so much more touch. And what I've experienced is when kids are touched, when kids are growing up, they want to be touched. They feel like the sex is just this add-on that they have to do, but we don't do enough touching of our kids. We're too busy texting them about be home at a certain time, or order from Grubhub so that you can have dinner tonight. I'm not going to be around. It's really important to have those times with your family and to show them the interaction if you're in a couple or a throuple or whatever the social things are these days, that touch is evenly demonstrated around how that helps our health. And I think adults, especially parents in this case, really need to focus on that a whole lot more too.
mm, mm, yeah. Talking about touch brings me kind of back around to massage and body work. Can you tell me what the difference between massage and body work is?
Sure. So I really define them in a very different context. Massage has to do with touching the physical body, like to release muscle tension, to mostly to release muscle tension, and to help people learn how to stretch their bodies, how to relax their bodies on a physical level. When I look at body work, I look at the emotional factors that are held in the body that can keep you from attaining some of the goals that you want to achieve. There was a huge issue a number of years ago about false memory syndrome and how therapists were doing that. And that's a real problem, and something that I'd also like to talk to in about just a minute in terms of how you pick a provider. I think that's super important. But it's just, I work with people who are in therapy. When people have had big trauma, I won't work with them really until they're in therapy. Because when my experience is after 37 years, is that when people do body work and they're in therapy, the work goes much quicker. It just evolves a lot quicker. And so it's really important to have that support. I've had a couple of people whose traumas were whatever they were. And even though we're very careful with that work and we work with a therapist, several of these people have had to be hospitalized for a couple of days because it just opened up too much. So
Mm,
I take it very seriously, body work. I mean, it can be very light in a lot of ways, and that's certainly what my goal is, but I can't make other people respond. They're going to respond however they're going to work. So I believe it's really important that if you have big unresolved issues, that you find a good therapist, but then ask them, do they have massage therapists that they work with, or body workers? If you want to pursue that kind of uh, avenue for the best results, because it's expensive and a lot of body work is not as with a lot of the other things that are being offered in this experience for people, they're not inexpensive. It's a huge investment in yourself.
Mm.
But I will share that it's a huge investment that will make a difference for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
And it's something that doesn't go away. It just is really important.
Mhm.
I will say about being a good consumer, this annoys the shit out of me in terms of there are a lot of body workers. When I went to massage school all those years ago, there was like 170 forms of body work. Now there's like 700 or 800. And there are a lot of massage therapists who go through school and they become, people say, why don't you do this or this or this, that, or the other thing in your work? And I go, because I'm still learning what I know. You know, I'd rather go deep than go wide, as they say.
Mhm.
So, but you see people with all these credibility credentials on their website because they went to a weekend workshop and that makes them an expert. No, I don't think so. So it's really important to really do due diligence on the person you're going to see. I mean, I've been in people's offices where I've said, stop, I need to get up and get out. I mean, that hasn't happened for me in years because I have much more abilities in terms of that. But it's really important that you really look at someone and interview them the same way, hopefully, you would interview a therapist
Mm.
to make sure that it's a good fix.
Mm.
Um, if I had to just pay all the time for my own body work, which I do, I mean, it's not, and it shouldn't be covered by insurance. This is an investment in yourself, like you invest by buying a car, by getting your teeth fixed, by other things that will make a difference in how you're able to cope with situations in the world. And so I really suggest to people that they go to one of the two main massage organizations and don't look at um, Google reviews on people. I mean, those are helpful. Those are can be part of the picture, but personal referrals work really well for most people, I think, when you're looking for somebody to work deep with. So there's the AMTA, which is the American Massage Therapy Association, and ABMP, which is the Associated Bodywork and Massage Professionals. And they do a really good job of providing lists of people that you can work with. And then it's on you to interview people. But I find that anybody who's worth their sand, their grain of sand is somebody who's willing to meet with you on a video call, say, and just get a sense of who that person is, get a sense of their office, if that's where it happens. This is my house, not my office. But it's just, you get a sense of people, and that's something that's just part of being in body work so that you can attune those energies, which is what some of these other workshops are about. So it's really a holistic approach. It's not just the esoteric, but it's really getting down into what's important for you as a person.
Mhm.
Because I have to share with you, life goes by really quickly.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Was that okay? I mean, was
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah, no, definitely answer my
I
question.
mean, I think it's about sharing resources too, and I'm hugely about sharing resources. I think if I had a middle name, it'd be resource person. So, yeah, so that's
Yeah.
what's
Well, I've been seeing you for over a decade now, and on a very regular basis, I see you right now twice a month. I think it's contributed tremendously to my overall health and well-being massively. Um, I can tell when I need a massage, and it's not just, when I feel crunchy. Sometimes,
right.
you need to get back in your body. You need to like address, I mean, you're really great at being able to see where stuff is in the body and emotional, things or whatever. It's it's immensely um supportive, conducive to my health and well-being, and I highly recommend, making that work, even if it is an investment. I prioritize that because I'm sure there's all kinds of health conditions that might be avoiding just by getting regular massage and body work done.
I'm going to bring up something that I think is really an important part of that prevention too. So when I went to massage school all those years ago, we learned about breast massage.
Mhm.
When I moved to Oregon, they wanted you to have a special license. They want you to do these classes, and I just don't tell them about it because
Mhm.
I have found over the years, not so much recently, but in the past, because I think women and men overall are doing much better around this. But I found 9 lumps and 5 of them were cancer.
Mhm.
So when I find a lump,
Mhm.
I the way I talk about it is let's not get excited here. Let's see where you are in your cycle. Let's see whatever the other factors are. Let's bring you back in and look again. And then if so, I say, yeah, I think we really need to get this checked. It's kind of like skin cancer. One of the things that all of a sudden they felt was really important for massage therapists in Oregon to learn about was skin cancer because we tattoo people, acupuncturists, people who do facials see much more of the body than the doctor
Mhm.
ever sees because most of us have kind of crappy doctors that want you in and out. So you have to ask for those kinds of things. Massage therapists can tell you, this doesn't look really good. And so what I do then when I see something, not necessarily breast cancer, but, or, it can be anything on the body that doesn't look right to me with whatever I've been trained with, which OHSU did a wonderful training for us on what you look for in people's bodies. And I think it was really important for a lot of the massage therapists here in Oregon to have that background, even though I already had it. So then I just take a picture and I send it to people and I say, put it on your my chart. That's
Mhm.
why we have those kinds of things. Check it out with your doctor. I don't care if I'm wrong. I'd rather be wrong than be right. But
Mhm.
if I'm right, at least you're on a path to be able to see what needs to be done next.
Yeah.
So I think I really feel that that's very, very important.
Mhm. Yeah, I do appreciate that I get, basically a regular breast exam, it it gives me some peace of mind. Not that I wouldn't still at my age, go get
A
mammogram
mammogram or whatever.
done, but
And I
still.
want, yeah, I want to also say one more thing. Oh, if I didn't lose it. See, this is what happens when you've had encephalitis is that you can be talking about something and Teresa can tell you it just disappears, but it'll come.
No, you're so sharp on
Um,
the tack. What are you talking about?
um, is that I might have to bring it up
Yeah,
later. I
you'll
might
you'll come
bring it
back
up
to you, I
later.
bet you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what it was. So people come in and they say, well, should I just come in once a month?
Mhm.
And I go, no.
Mhm.
Um, and the reason that I say that is when you're just learning about your body, so you go in and you feel good for a day or two or three or four, and then your body starts tightening up and you need to realize that it's been tightening up for however long
Mhm.
before you came in. And so I suggest to people that certainly it shouldn't stress you out behind money to come back in more
Mhm.
frequently,
Mhm.
but that you try to plan for that so that you can come in depending what your massage therapist and you agree on, but at least every 10 days, if not every week, depending on your issues. And
Mhm.
then when you start, like I always am teaching people all the time if they want to know. And those are really the only people that come to me anymore. I really have a very small practice because I kind of am like, I can teach you everything I know,
Mhm.
but people want it done to them.
Mhm.
So that's what you're looking at a spa massage
Mhm.
or more of a general massage kind of thing.
Mhm.
But I asked people to come. I said, how much do you want this to change? If you want this to change, then you need to do your part. I'll do my part, and let's see where we can go with this.
Mhm.
So you start out more frequently, and then people can move to every other week
Mhm.
or even once a month.
Mhm.
But the point is, you're so much more grounded in what you can do for yourself.
Mhm.
And the trick is being caring enough about yourself to take that time
Yeah.
versus going to meet somebody for that latte when you know you need to take about 10 minutes to just sit and be grounded. Let whatever just happened pass so
Yeah.
that you can be really fully present. So it affects you on a lot of levels. It's not even just the physical level.
Mm-hmm.
Especially it comes in very helpful for people at night when they can't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Or they wake up, they go to sleep and they're exhausted and they wake up at 2 a.m. and okay, so what's happening now? And then, it throws your whole day off and whatever.
Yeah, sure. It definitely helps with sleep. Definitely.
Yeah.
So you always give people these resources. Tell me three, you'd usually share three self-care skills so what
Right.
would you recommend for people in attendance?
So the first one is so very simple. You're going to just kind of roll your eyes and say,
I
oh,
doubt
what?
it.
But it's breathing.
Yeah.
So people really need to be reminded that we're in pain when we're in fear or when we're really concentrating on something. We're breathing. When I do a presentation, I can feel when everybody stops breathing. And of course, it's because I'm a fabulous speaker, but that's not why. They're just trying to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll always say, okay, y'all, we need to take a breath. And I always make jokes about the fact that I have to do CPR and stuff like that every 2 years. And I really don't want to have to practice it. So we all need to take a breath. There might be some people that are doing presentations through this week of presentations that talk about all kinds of different kind of breathing. And there's up one nostril, down the other. It's like the cereal section at the grocery store. When you go to Europe, there's 6 cereals. When you come to America, there's 28 kinds of cereal.
Mm-hmm.
So the important thing is finding what's good for you. And I'm always go to the simple bottom line. And the simple bottom line is in through your nose and out through your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start to do that, your body will start getting tired and it'll start you yawning. And it's because your body's like, whoa, there's oxygen coming in here. This is supposed to relax the body,
Mm-hmm.
which is a problem when people lay in bed at night going, I need to go to sleep. Oh my God, it's 2:30. Oh my God, it's 2:35. And they're right? Just doing some breathing, starting with your hands on the top part of up on the top part of your chest and making your hands rise with your breath and bringing it down. And most people are asleep by the time they get down to their belly.
Mm-hmm.
Also, your positioning for your sleep makes a big difference. Sleeping on your back is the best thing for stretching out your vertebra. People who sleep on their stomach, there's a very general statement, but I found it to be true 8 times out of 10 is because they've had trauma happen. This is our most vulnerable part. When we are sleeping, I'm going to go back a bit. When we were prehistoric, kind of in the beginning, people walked on all fours. They didn't stand upright.
Mm-hmm.
And then we decided we were going to start evolving. So we started standing up. Well, when you're walking on all fours like animals, you always have your spine and it's protecting you against attack. When we decided to become evolved and start standing up and walking around, this is our most vulnerable place. This is where all of our organs are.
Mm-hmm.
So when you've had trauma, and it might be something as simple as having breasts at an earlier age than your peers,
Mm-hmm.
and the way kids tease people about that, that could be enough to make you do this. When people have had sexual trauma, of which I've had in my life on several different occasions in my growing up, plus I had larger breasts,
Mm-hmm.
still do. And you know, you have to learn to, you don't have to do anything. You hopefully will choose to become more aware of those things and how they support you. But when people sleep on their stomach, that's their way of protecting themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So the process for changing that, however, is pretty barbaric, but it's funny. So what you do if you want to learn to sleep on your back instead of sleep on your stomach, you wear a t-shirt to bed and you duct tape a tennis ball right here.
Mm-hmm.
This is your sternum and your clavicles right up here. And if you push it, it's not bone, it's cartilage.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you put pressure on it, it's going to hurt like all get out. And so you're going to flip over and go, God damn, what, she was so right. She was so right, But it takes about 3 weeks to make or break any habit. It's a loose term, 3 weeks. That's not an addiction
Mhm.
forever to change, but that will get you sleeping on your back. My other encouragement is when you do that is to also put a pillow under your knees. It's not going to stay there all night. And you'll probably, I'll tell you how I go to sleep. I go to sleep and I start out by laying on my right side.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden that doesn't work anymore. It's been like this for years. And I turn over to my left side, which is much better for your heart, by the way.
Mm.
And then after I've done that for a little bit, I'm like, okay. And I lay on my back and I have a pillow or I don't. It just depends. I've learned how to regulate it for myself well. And that's when I fall asleep. And it takes all of about 8 minutes.
Mhm.
The other thing I will share is hypervigilance at night.
Mm.
So I live in Portland, Oregon. We have a lot of gunshots sometimes at night.
Mm.
Those are pretty traumatic for people, and rightly so. So you want to try to work around that hypervigilance at night. So if you have the ability, and I have no clue how to do this on your phone, Teresa's my phone guru, but on my clock radio, which was my mother's, you can set an alarm which will go off in like 15 minutes. When I grew up, I thought classical music was for people to fall asleep. I thought that was the whole purpose of classical music. Um, but it works really well. So we have a classical music station here. So I suggest to people who live here, if they don't know how to work their phones, like I was talking about, that they can put on this classical music station and set it for 25 minutes and it'll go off. But it breaks down that hypervigilance, which is also built into a lot of people's trauma from different origins. So it's another way to be able to take good care of yourself.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's one of the things that I talk about. One of the other things that I talk about is every night when you brush your teeth, hopefully you do that every night. After you're done doing that, is taking the big minute to look in the mirror and say, whatever. Today's been a real shit day.
Mm.
But I know that these are the things I could have done different. These are the things I had no control over. But I want you to know, Jack, before you go to bed, you've really done well today, and I love you. It sounds so benign, but
Mm.
when I have done many of these meetings and sessions with people, they have a lot of people have a hard time saying that themselves. They're always looking for it from other people,
Mhm.
but they need to look at it for themselves.
Mm. Mhm.
And that's a hard thing to do, and to do it on a regular basis. So
Mm.
that's why I say, as long as you brush your teeth every night, just add it to that routine. It's not going to take you a lot of time, but it'd be really curious for you to see what a difference that makes
Mhm.
in terms of how you sleep, how you feel about yourself, how
Mhm.
you're able to let things go. Everybody does it differently. So
Mhm.
I try to throw out different suggestions for people to try in terms of that.
Mm.
The other thing I would share with you is when I first moved to Oregon, I came 3 times in a year so I could look at different parts of it. From Colorado. And I found very commonly that the places that people didn't get massaged were their faces,
Mm.
their chest and breast area,
Mhm.
and their feet.
Mm.
Okay. So when I came and experienced massage, I walked out of there feeling like one of those dolls that you flip the bottom and they all kind of fall apart,
Mhm.
but they didn't come back together.
Mm.
And so they don't teach that here. And depending on where you live, it could be very different. But I found out it was because most schools teach Swedish massage. And you don't take the hands off the body. It's very da 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 da. And it's just, I don't want to say a routine, but it becomes a routine for people, which is again spa massage.
Mm.
So I would look for somebody who does those areas.
Mm. Mm.
So that, and it doesn't even need to be, they have to spend a lot of time on those areas, but so they can address them either energetically or just even putting their hands here or putting their hands here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
With your permission, of course, they need to ask that, but
Mm-hmm.
that should be part of the intake kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing and the conversation that you have when you meet a new massage therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Feet are so very important. When I first started working in the HIV community, those people had no muscle mass. They were so thin. I don't know how many pictures people have seen over the years of people in the early days of HIV, but you see that in countries where people are starving. You can see it all over the place. When you work on the feet, you're working on the whole body. So that's one of the skills that I taught to men living with HIV because they wanted to touch this person in front of them, but they also wanted to, they were afraid of hurting them, basically, because they were skin and bones. And so by working on the feet, the whole body starts to relax. When people are dying, I really encourage people that are working with them to work on their feet because it's really that sense of touch. And I will say, in just closing about that, is that when people are dying is the most important time to be touching people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and know that even if they're in a coma, they can still hear you. So you play the music that they've always liked. You talk into their ear and just share things, whatever is appropriate for you to share. But working on their feet will help calm their whole body down, which will make that transition a lot easier. When I can share with you energy wise that as people get closer to dying, their energy moves from their head and their feet, and it moves closer to their solar plexus. And I've been fortunate to watch their spirit leave on a couple of occasions. I'm not really good at it, but I try to just be open to it. And other people have seen it more than I have. So our gifts are all very different, but it's like opening up the big box for people at Christmas who celebrate Christmas. There's so much that our body has to share with us that most people just don't pay attention to. And it's why I feel it's important. Because if you're waiting to your doctor to tell you that you have cancer, or you're waiting for somebody to tell you this isn't healthy for you to be trembling like this, you really should go and see somebody about this. It's on you. This is where you live. I'm going to say that again. This is where you live.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to honor that in the best way we can. And that's by spending time with yourself, not just getting your nails done, not just getting your hair done. Believe me, I do those things, but it's just spending that time at the end of the day and saying, oh, this arthritis has gotten a little worse. What can I do for this to support this? What else? And then that's where it becomes a more holistic picture.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'll tell you that a lot of healers aren't really good at that.
Mm-hmm.
They do all the other stuff great,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of them have a lot of issues that they don't work with. So, not to be critical of them, but to encourage people to spend a little more time with their body.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, that's why this talk is called Honoring the Body, right? And definitely, this is, like you say, this is where we live, and it's important that we take care of our bodies. We listen to its messages when it tells us things. We don't just, like you say, scoop it under the rug and hope it'll go away. No, it's, preventative action is really important to take, and
Yeah.
also engaging in self-care, really prioritizing that, I think, is really, really important.
Yeah, I think the term self-care, like so many other phrases, is way overused at this point.
Hmm.
I just try to talk about it when I can, though I slip it and say self-care a lot. But I try to just call it as loving me time or personal time or, you know, getting back to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think I really feel that that's really important. The other last thing I'll say really quick is your choice of words makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, as you've probably heard, is I'll say I think and I change it to I feel.
Yeah.
Your words go much further than out your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really important that you use your language mindfully
Mm-hmm.
because it impacts your body, but it also impacts the other person, even if they're 20 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
It's impacting them on an energetic basis. That I can certainly share with you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's tricky because we have these patterns, but it's not just about a New Year's resolution. Every day we have a New Year's resolution. It's a new day resolution. Today, I'm going to try to be a little bit more cognizant of my word usage and to choose words that are more conveyant,
Mm-hmm.
convey more the effect I'm trying to have versus the mental part of it.
Makes sense. Yeah, totally. Love that. I've
Thanks.
heard that from you before, and it is something that I definitely do a lot more than I used to. Yeah.
And
Thank
it shows.
It does. It does. You also taught me not to say I'm sorry.
That's
You have a
true.
sorry jar, or you used to have a sorry jar.
Yeah.
They put a quarter in my sorry jar. You said you're sorry.
Yeah. Didn't make me enough to go to Europe, but it was good.
Little bonus, a little extra.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This has been a really great teaching, and I just think when I think
I
about
just feel
I feel that you are uh I feel and think, I guess, but yeah, see, I feel that you are a tremendous healer. I don't, I think of you and f feel you more as that. That's why I was saying, I think of you that way, um, as more of a healer. So, and not
right.
just a body worker. You are consummate healer. Thank you for sharing your words. And yeah, Jackie is a great presenter. So if you have an organization that is looking for someone to present on loving yourself more and taking care of your body more, she's a great person to talk to. And of course, she has a host of other great topics she can speak on. So I highly encourage that. Thank you, Jackie. This has been really great. I appreciate your time.
You want me to talk about my gift to
Yeah,
the
that was
group?
what I was going to ask next. Yes,
Oh,
will you share
good.
about your free gift?
I was afraid you were going to cut me off, and
No,
this is so
no.
very important. So, what I'm doing is I'm offering you guys a copy of what I call the girlfriend guide.
Mm,
As I told you, and it's dedicated to my friend Bonnie who died, and you'll see that on the first page. But I feel that we go into older age in a very different way. I also know, and you'll see on my website, I did a survey with a friend of mine who's a physician who I've worked with for many years at this point, that women don't talk to their healthcare providers. They don't share a lot of information with their healthcare providers, in part because you don't have a lot of time. The other thing is you're nervous because it's not the most comfortable place to go generally. And because we don't always know what to ask.
mm,
So I compiled this, I think it's about 43 pages um, of a book called The Girlfriend Guide. And it starts off, and it's mostly for, I set it up to be for when people turn 65, when they retired, whatever was appropriate for that. And what it does is it looks at a number of things. It covers, like when you go to the doctor, it has a sheet on it for, how to talk about what your problems are. So when you go in and they're taking your blood pressure and your weight and all that other stuff, you can say, this is what I'd like to talk to the doctor about.
mm,
So you're really clear what it is and you're not caught up in, oh, I forgot to ask about this or I forgot to ask about that. It also has things because most people I talk to don't know how to read the summary they get when they leave the doctor's office. It's not user friendly. So how to have somebody, how to be able to approach that and be able to go over that information with somebody. I also totally suggest, especially as you get older, and especially if you're anticipating that there's something majorly going on, that you ask somebody to go with you. When
mm,
you're caught up in your emotions about, say, for example, a cancer diagnosis, you're not going to hear anything past that. But this person can take notes, they can ask questions. whatever is going on. So I really, really can't encourage you enough to take somebody with you. But all of this is in there. So one of the other things that's in there is the 4 areas that Medicare won't cover. So Medicare doesn't cover your teeth, your eyes, your ears, and your feet.
Mm.
Those are all the things that Medicare should cover and not cover other things.
Mhm.
Because those are the things that change for people as they age. So I asked people in all those professions to write a page about what you should look for. If you're experiencing these things, this is when you go to your primary care doctor, because you won't have that information otherwise. So hopefully it's a way to look at that. Again, this was written for Portland, Oregon, but it can be used in other ways, in that it talks about the wonderful acupuncture school that we have here, the massage schools that we have, with the benefits of massage, the benefits of naturopathic medicine, because we have a great naturopathic school here where you can go on sliding scale and work with students. And I love working with students there. I've been going there as part of my healthcare for over 30 some odd years. So there's those pieces, but there's also stuff. There's one on social isolation and depression. There's one on drug and alcohol use. I have to share with you that there are many people who have issues with addiction going into older age because they're lonely and they're depressed. So there's a lot of information about that. And just as an aside, I will share with you that even though I'm a retired drug and alcohol counselor, I've been smoking pot since I was 12.
Mm.
And I go into dispensaries and talk to dispensaries about how not to break HIPAA, but to inform older people about marijuana isn't like the the Acapulco Gold and 3 other varieties that we had growing up.
Mm.
It's way different than that.
Mhm.
And obviously there's a whole lot more chemical interaction there.
Mhm.
So it's really important to know that there are a lot of studies going on that say smoking pot when you're older, and I'm paying attention to this too. There's other ways to do this, but that it's really important to do we're American. The bigger the better, the higher the number the better. That's
Mhm.
not true.
Mhm.
You can end up on the floor breaking your hip. And if you're like me and not carrying one of those little button things to call people because you can't get up, I've seen 4 people now in the last couple of years who fell and were too embarrassed to call somebody. They broke their hip, they laid in pain, peed on themselves, those kinds of things. And then for older people, and this is going to be really blunt, it's a downward trend and people die
Mhm.
from
Mhm.
something like this later on in life. So
Mhm.
again, for those of you who are younger saying, oh, that's not me, that's not good. Yeah, but if you got a mom, you got an aunt, you got older friends, hopefully you have friends of all ages, because that is a very healthy thing to do.
Mhm.
You need to share this information. Again, whatever I share with people, I do for them to share with other people. So there's that part in there also. Then there's also sections on resources, and who you have to notify in Social Security, and a page about where are you going to put all your passwords and who are you going to give them to as you get older, in case you get dementia, but when you die, so that people can take care of your business. Who do you want to be notified around those kinds of issues? And also, who do you want to come and get your vibrators and toys and drug paraphernalia, whatever, if your family doesn't know about it? So you've got to plan those kind of things out. It sounds silly. It sounds so silly, but I can't
Mhm.
tell you how many people have thanked me for doing that.
Yeah.
And so there's all kinds of different resources in this, including the issues of dying and power of attorney, links for all of those kinds of things. So I'm really hoping that you will look through this, see what works for you, share what works for you and doesn't work for you, and leave and allow this to be a growing document for yourself as you get older. Yeah. So that's what it is.
That's
And I
great.
hope you enjoy it.
That's a powerful resource. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jackie.
Yep.
It's really great. Well, this has been such a fabulous conversation. I'm really grateful to you again for taking the time to do this and sharing your incredible many, many decades of wisdom with us. Appreciate that so much.
Hopefully around for a few more decades.
Yeah,
Could
you
you?
will be.
I think so. I have work to do here, girl.
Yeah, you do.
Thank
Yeah,
you
you
so
do.
much.
Thank
And I
you.
thank all of you for being invested in yourself to even participate in this.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, we're grateful to you for being here. Thank you for sharing this time with us. And
Sure.
and if you want to share with us your personal stories or your ahas, we'd love to hear from you. Facebook group.
Oh, I'd love to.
Yeah, everyone join the Facebook group called Soul Leaders and Visible Visionaries, and we'll keep an eye out, and I would love to just hear your opinions and thoughts about these things. Um,
And if you have questions, I'll be glad, and I will return your messages. So
Yeah, reach out
that
to
works
Jackie
too.
directly too. Yeah. You can go to her website, jackigethner.com, and contact her there. She has all of her information there. Well, thank
The
you
only
all.
thing I'll just say really quick,
Yeah, go ahead.
when people try to do that, they put an E on Jackie, and Jackie is Jacki, and then they get really frustrated.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm
Yeah,
just
that's
telling
true.
you up front, please,
Yeah,
just
Jackie
spell it
Gethner,
right.
JACKIGETHNER.
JachnER.
We'll make sure that your link is in below too, so that people can just click it.
And one more just quick healing
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
mention.
Oh, yes. She's
Minions. Minions are the savior of the world. That's a whole different story. Have a great day.
Thank you all. Have a beautiful day. Lovely having you here.
Bye.